Just walk away. Just walk away, and there will be an end to the horror.
Yeah. Come. Yeah. Yeah, come on.
Well, when I was a kid, and God, I was like 17 years old or something, and I was in a band, and we were like, yeah, let's record an album.
Yeah.
Let's go into a studio and record an album.
Yeah.
And but back then it was fucking analog, man. And,
That's right, man.
And it was all done on analog, and when it was done, we're like, yeah, we got our album out. Oh. And you know how we distributed it? On tape.
What did you do it?
Cassette
on
tape.
Cassettes?
On cassette tape, man. Yeah.
Everybody did that, man. 30 minutes, the 30-minute cassettes. Oh, yeah, I remember.
Man, cassette tape.
But that's and how many times that was done over, how many hours were spent, you'd get a box of those 30-minute cassettes, right?
Yeah.
And click into Dolby noise reduction in the recording.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's how things were done. That's how guys were getting gigs bar to bar.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
And that's all but gone and lost.
It's absolutely gone. Absolutely.
Because that added to the whole experience. I would bet that some of the best rock tunes were written about the process of becoming a rock star.
Oh,
seriously.
No shit, man. No shit.
And that's just it. So, getting back to what you said earlier, that, the thing about the rock star or the rock group is dead.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's
dead.
It's sad to say, I'm almost teary-eyed saying that because, man, it was the soundtrack of our lives, to where we're at today. This comes back to what we were saying about, the value of music in our lives. It's the soundtracks of our lives. Yeah. That might be a cliche that Neil Peart said from Rush, but it's so true, man. It is so true, right? And
absolutely. Where are the Mark Knopflers of today? Where are they?
They're out there. You know what? I am. They're out there. Okay. They're in some dingy basement right now, okay? And they've probably put cardboards, or cartons, egg cartons all around. And they're probably sitting there, with a little guitar and a little amp, right?
Yep.
And just thrumming away at things, right?
Yep.
And they're probably creating amazing art, okay? And if you really use the technology right, that musician probably needs another guy who can fill in with the keys, right? Probably bring in some string sounds on what he's composing. And he's probably 5,000 miles away, right? And I think that's what's missing is the connection between musician to musician. Oh, yeah. And I think if they can put something together in a hangout, like what we're doing, I think, that's the good use of the technology. I think musicians more than ever really need to be connected to bring a new wave around, and bring rock and roll back not to its glory, but in a new form, right?
It's a new form.
In a new form, because music always recycles itself. Okay, don't kid yourself. If you're going to hear a piece of rock, if some guy's shredding away, there was a little bit of Paganini in there, right? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's and because of that recycling factor. Even if the musicians hates the fuck out of that classical composer, hey, doesn't matter. The classical composer beat you to it because you're doing the same fucking chord structure, buddy.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and that's and really get to know musical roots, man. Yeah. Really get to understand. But I think, like I said, it's the musician at heart, that teenager right now, who's just dying to get that Gibson. You know what I mean? Just dying to get that. Probably we bought a couple. You can probably afford just a couple of packs of Dean Markley strings. You know what I mean, bro?
Yeah.
But you know, and that's what makes music happen. You know, in a sad way, it's in a way, let him suffer a little bit more because he's going to create some fucking brilliant music out of that experience.
Exactly.
You know.
You know what, man? Wait, I'm hearing an echo. Are you hearing me echo?
Yeah, I'm not hearing an echo. Is the echo from my side?
Why the fuck am I echoing? Hello?
Yeah, I can
Okay,
hear you loud and clear.
it's done. It's not. I can't hear it anymore.
We're good?
Yeah, we're good. Okay. Anyway, what I was going to say is, a person asked me, "What's the best song you ever heard?" And my response to that was, "It's the one I haven't heard yet."
Exactly.
Because it's somebody's made it, and it's there, and I haven't heard it yet. Hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's my approach to.
That's the perfect answer, man. That is the perfect answer.
Yeah.
But I will, you know, and I will say where music really happens, you know, it's the song the best song that you heard is the one that hasn't been heard yet.
Yeah.
Okay. But it's going to happen when it happens live.
Yeah.
Okay. That's when you really hear the song when you hear it live, right?
Yep.
You know, because when you hear something that's being produced, you know, it's been stepped on so many times, it's been stretched, you know, but there are, you know, engineers that do it integrity and leave it as natural as possible.
Yeah.
And there have been engineers that have done that. You know, I know for a fact that happened with Rush, for example. Yeah. But that's it. You know, it hasn't been heard yet. Yeah. And that ties in with, again, music writes itself. All a musician does is perfect his craft to show up for that time. Yeah. You got to suit up and show up for music, man, right at that time, you know, in timing.
Exactly. If anybody thinks that the best song that I've ever heard is something I heard on the radio at some point in my life, I'll just be like, no, it's the song that some dude wrote in his basement.
Yeah.
That I never had a chance to hear.
Exactly. And that's happening right now. It's happening everywhere. You know, we're never going to hear that song. But man, what a collection of songs, of great songs that we've heard along the way, eh?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, that's what it's all about. It's, you know, it's like with musicians and their craft and their mastery of their particular instrument.
Oh, and actually, why don't we just kind of segue into this?
The
topic is what has happened to music, but
yeah.
What about what has happened to the album? Right?
Oh, yes.
What has happened to the album, the whole piece, the movement? It doesn't exist anymore. We're thrown they throw at us single after single after single.
The album is gone.
The album is dead.
Right. The album is dead. I never realized that until you just mentioned it. That is so true. Where is the album? The album is what makes the song and the track.
Yes.
And what makes the band, right?
Yeah.
You know, that's the difference today. I mean, yeah, everybody knows, hey, Dark Side of the Moon. Whoa, that album speaks volumes. It's an album. Everybody refers to it as an album. Yeah. Right?
Not anymore, man. Now it's just track after single, digital single after single, and you don't have an album anymore.
Yeah, which is what they did in the late 50s and 60s, especially the 60s. You know, that was the decade of the singles, right? Yeah. Look at Motown, right?
Yeah.
You know, Motown was the purveyor of probably the biggest purveyor of singles in history, right?
True, very true, yeah.
So, you know, and that's what I think ties in with today's technology, right? Let's get the single out because it can be mass produced and it can be done instantly, you know, in half the time it used to take, in a fraction of the time it used to take to make a single back in the day, right? Yeah. You know, which was in fact the way of mass producing music. This was before cassettes rolled out. Cassettes became popular in the 70s, right? Mm-hmm. I think around the early 70s, right, when it came, right? Yeah. But the singles were it, right? And now what do we have? We've got the internet, right? And maybe a couple of flashcards that you can pop into your MP3 player, and off you go, right? Go and enjoy that tune. But you're right, the album is dead, man. Yeah. Right?
It's really sad.
It's sad because the album really shows where the artist is at that point in time, right?
It's the difference between a I don't know what kind of metaphor can I put to this? It's the difference between a one play act and an entire play. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah. I get the drift of what you're saying. Yeah, it's and that raises the other issue too that dovetails with the topic was the one hit wonders.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The one hit wonders. The first one that comes to mind is the Knack. My Sharona.
Oh yeah, the Knack. I know that.
That was a one hit wonder. And again, that's the nature of music too as well.
Well, that's all it is nowadays is one hit wonders. That's all it is.
One hit wonders. Yeah.
Nobody buys an album to listen to
No.
an album. Who the fuck does that? Nobody does that shit anymore, man.
Nobody does that. Exactly. And that's just it. And that's, where I feel for guys, especially this, the single artists, right, who do all the tracks on one, and the first album that comes to mind right off the bat is Steve Winwood, Ark of the Diver. He played all the instruments on that, the bass, the guitar, the keys, and of course, and he played the drums. It was, and I think he did it on a 16 track,
Yeah,
right?
Probably.
And, and of course, musicians in the know that Ark of a Diver is just it's a phenomenal piece of work. It's a masterpiece what he did. Night Train, amazing piece, right?
Yeah.
But he did all the instruments and he layered and he produced and engineered it himself, right? So and that was 1981, okay, when he got out. But of course he was a name, Steve Winwood, right?
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what's, nowadays an artist, you can put an album together quite easily and pump it out on YouTube. But again, it's the value of the album or the whole concept of the album. Are you telling the whole story, right?
Well, that's the point. It's like an album basically took a long time to make back then, and so it was it was a history of the band. It was a moment in time that extended beyond a single track of an entire band and what they were going through and what they were experiencing and not just with the experiences that influenced the songwriting, but also the production itself.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what the 70s were big in rock, in rock history. That's what it was all, the concept album, again, Dark Side of the Moon, right?
I don't even think Dark Side of the Moon was meant to be a concept album. It was just an album. It was just an
album. Well, that was the direction that how Pink Floyd evolved, and I think we touched base on that yesterday. We were talking, you mentioned some interest in how Pink Floyd came about or along those lines, right? What we're doing it, in 67, 68, it was all of that psychedelic stuff, right? And that whole thing with Syd Barrett too as well, right? Losing his mind, but that's what they were big. As soon as David Gilmour came in, the whole vibe changed, right?
Yeah.
And that's where, in Metal, the album Metal in 1971 or 72, I think it was, right? That's where the Floyd sound was defined, right? So it was an evolution to get to that point, right?
Yes.
But it just became concept albums. No, I don't think Floyd, were creating an actual concept album. I mean, look at the Great Gig in the Sky, for example. Tori Amos, right? The singer on that. She did that in one take, man, right? And she thought she screwed up. And the guys were back in the room going, whoa, that's it. That's that's how Great Gig in the Sky became.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, and then that's, these guys were, they spend a lot of intensive hours in the studio, absolutely. But again,
a concept album or just an album itself, it's in my opinion, it's a reflection of the work in a studio, and trying to recreate the presence of being there while it happens. And
right.
I swear to God, I think the last time I ever heard an album, an entire album that gave me that feeling was probably fucking, I don't know, 12.
It's hard to go there, eh?
Yeah, I don't know, like almost 10 years ago, maybe even more.
Yeah.
12 years ago, maybe. I think I heard an album come out that even 12 years ago, the single was the big thing. So you hear the single, and then you go and purchase the album, and you lay it down, and you listen to it, and you get a sense of like, wow, this is an album, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like from song to song, this not concept album in a sense, but it's an album.
It's telling a story or a collection of stories that fit.
Yes.
Right? With that book, so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah, like reading a book. It's like reading a fucking book.
Exactly, man. Well, that's what it was. That's what it was back in the 70s. Prog rock was notorious for reading. When you were listening to an album, you were actually reading a book, you know?
Yeah.
There was that one band, the prog rock band, Gentle Giant. They had different concepts for every album that they put out. They were political. They dabbled in a range of different musical styles, right?
Mm-hmm.
And made it as eclectic. But they had an album, okay? And the album had a theme. And every song had a theme of progression. And they added everything else in between there. But there was a progression. There was a story, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, where is that in this day and age? Where are those stories being told in album format, man?
Where has the music gone? Where has it gone?
Yeah.
What's happened to it?
Well, the music is always there, and it always will be. It's up to the musician.
Okay.
They're the miner.
I'll give you a challenge. Name one popular artist today that has a top 10 single.
I don't know.
I can't know either.
I can't. You don't know either, right?
No, I don't know.
I honestly, I wish I could.
Now, anybody listening to this little podcast now, please put in the comments of the name of a popular artist with a top 10 single today, because I honestly don't fucking know.
I haven't a clue. Maybe we're so out of the loop. I am. We're probably such old timers by now.
Yeah.
That we've fallen way off, and maybe that's our programming. That's the kind of music.
I just look. I'm a musician, man. All right, I'm a musician, and anybody that tells me that you're just too old and you don't understand the modern music, I just go, no, fuck you. I'm a musician. I play music. Mm-hmm. I've always played music. I understand music. So if I don't know what's popular today, it's most likely because it doesn't grab my attention at all.
That's right. Yeah. And same with me. It's been well over 10, 15 years, man, that music hasn't captured my attention. I'll tell you exactly when I lost the attention in music, I think. Mm-hmm. Napster. Napster really ruined it for me back in 1998 or 1999.
Oh, okay.
I'll tell you what happened, okay? Here I had a whole CD collection, right? And actually, it got stolen. I had somebody
from your house or your car.
Eh?
From your house?
From my house, man. Somebody broke into my apartment at the time, and stole about 90% of my CD collection.
Jesus, here's what did they leave behind?
Oh, Jesus.
I wonder if they were like, I don't want this. I don't want that.
Yeah, I don't want this. Those were probably the KTEL albums or something.
ABBA's greatest hits now.
ABBA's greatest hits, yeah. Fucking Swedish, some Swedish. Nobody broke in. But what happened was Napster. Napster is what did it. Okay. That was stolen from me, and it's like, oh shit, how am I going to rebuild my collection, right? And I was in party mode back then, right?
Right.
Hanging out with musicians and shit, and that kind of stuff, right? And Napster came out, and of course, I had an internet signal. I had the first high-speed internet connection in Toronto, right?
Yeah.
In 1998, and then of course Napster came out, right? And the whole novelty of, hey, I wonder if Dark Side of the Moon, I can put in a search, and then bing, there's Dark Side of the Moon right there. Oh, wow. And then I just go through any album or any track, any piece of music that I could think of, put in a search, and then pop.
There it
it's
is.
All there.
Yeah.
There it is. And then and then you went from that, and I go, fuck, I could put a whole album together. So I started putting the albums together, all the tracks that I knew from back in the 70s, right?
Right.
And then there was a part of me that said, you know what? This is too fucking easy. This just took away from music, right?
Yeah.
So that whole, the whole access to, now I can, have it. And the thing is, what I found is and this is not to do with what Metallica went through in Napsters. I mean, this is not. I mean, my experience with Napster was precisely just that. It became too easy, okay, and too accessible, right? And that somehow took away from, having the, being raised on albums, pulling the vinyl out of the sleeve, putting it on the record player, adjusting the needle, letting it tip just perfectly, adjust the EQ on the Marantz receiver, right?
Yeah, right.
You know,
right, yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, that was, I did that for decades, man, right? Before the CD came along, right? And, so it was that whole process, which adds to the album experience.
True. Very true.
And that was intrinsic. That was intrinsic about, we were listening to great music, but we were listening to, to the lyrics, and we were listening to the album, man, to the story. There was a story that was being told, man, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, if you listen to the 3 albums by Rush, 2112 and Farewell to Kings and Hemispheres, there's a trilogy right there, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we were looking forward to, man. We were listening to Q107, the radio station, at 11 o'clock at night, and waiting for the announcer to say something about the band, that was up and coming. And on June 17th at night, at Maple Leaf Gardens, Rush will be, wow, that's what it was about, man.
Yeah.
That's how music played in our lives, right? And it's gone, man. It's lost.
Yeah, the rock star is dead, man. It's not going to come back. And nowadays, the children, they get their music through, and I have to say this, the technology, as far as the internet is concerned, is a double-edged sword, because yes, there's an opportunity for minor artists to just express themselves and sell their music, but at the same time, the part I hate about it is that regardless of that, because when I was a kid, it was just much MTV, much music, the radio. That's how I got to, this is what's coming out. But nowadays, even though kids have access to anybody's music at any time, if they really looked for it, they don't. They just hear the same shit, and they click on the same fucking links, the same fucking popular artists. That we don't even know their names because we don't give a shit, and that's all they hear. I mean,
and I bet you they don't even listen it from start to finish.
Absolutely not.
Right.
Absolutely not.
Exactly. That's the difference. Because back in our day, Ayam, I mean, it was, if you had a friend over, right, and you had a nice bag of weed or something like that, you know what I mean, right? I mean, it was all about putting on the album. And you'd sit back and listen it from start to finish. You would devote 45 minutes of your time to that album.
Yeah, it was basically. I remember, inviting my friends over, dropping a hit of acid, and putting on Close to the Edge, on vinyl, and just going, okay, everybody lay down, listen to this.
Yeah, and that's what it was about, man. That was. When we get together for tunes, some people would sit back and watch TV. We'd put on albums, man.
Yeah.
And we'd smoke Mega Dubage, or, I never dropped acid, though. I think I did a couple times. But anyways, that's a different topic on a different story.
Yeah. Well, I did. I did, but weed was there too. But the point is that it was like, when I got my friends together, of course, we were either drinking. We're doing something. We're drinking beer, or maybe smoking some weed, or maybe even dropping acid. But the point is that when we got together, we put on the record, let it play, and just laid down and listened.
Exactly. That's the generation. I think you were the last generation, probably, I am.
Yeah, I was. I was the tail end of that.
and thank goodness that you had that you have a musician father who kind of raised you musically that way too as well. Not just from a musical sense, but the whole culture, right? You know, that's around that, because that was the culture of the day, right?
Well, some of my best childhood memories is, you know, being a little kid sitting in the living room as my dad put on albums.
Yeah. And even in high school, man, some of the best friendships you made were from, you know, the conversation started, oh, you dig Van Halen, that particular album, right?
Yeah.
Friendships were made that way.
Yeah.
And also enemies were made too as well, you know?
Exactly, yeah.
Because if you were not into Black Sabbath and all this, you couldn't listen to such and such a band. So, you know, there was also that rivalries. But that was the culture, though, man. Yeah. You know? You needed to have haters, right? You know, so that you can say, no, such and such sucks, man. You know, he's not true metal. Fuck you, right? You know?
Hey, do you still smoke weed?
Every now and again.
Yeah, me too. Every now and again. One day, man, if I make it back over there, let's get together, smoke some weed, and listen to some albums.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I've always said, you know, I always like to set some time aside, you know, with a good pair of JBL studio monitors, or, you know, you need good speakers.
You need it. You need it. You need good speakers.
Good sofa, okay? And yeah, you can turn on a 60-inch screen and put some visuals and all that, you know, with the sound cut out, but be with the music, right? You know, get yourself a nice bag of Kush, right? Okay? And, you know, because, even that, probably some of the best tunes were written on cannabis, right?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
But that's part of the culture. No, man, it's, you know, some of the best music was done on drugs, let's face it. And, you have a nice pair of JBLs, and you're with people of like mind, and sit back and take 45 minutes, man, and meditate on that fucking piece, man, you know? You know, that's the experience, right? And hopefully have a good analog system there too as well, you know?
Absolutely.
You know, and that's an experience. And, you know, but I really question people's attention spans, you know, for this day and age. But I think the true musicians will appreciate that. And I think they're going to be the true movers, right?
Yeah, well,
so
true musicians and true lovers of music, regardless of whether they play or not, they will understand that. They will understand the concept of losing yourself in an album or in a song.
Absolutely.
Not just putting it on as background.
No. Be there. You know, and I mean, when you're listening, and this is what I do, Ayam. It's like I was telling you yesterday. I put on Echoes by Pink Floyd, right?
Yeah, so did I.
and I totally zeroed in on Nick Mason's drumming, right? And if you know, and I think maybe it's the way I listen to music, I'm able to separate and multi-layer what I'm listening to, right? And still be able to sponge in the soul of what's happening at the moment. But I focused in on Nick Mason's drumming. Simple beats, man. Okay? Well, you listen to the piece, right? And it looks, you know, it sounds so musically perfect and complex. It's not. It's a combination of, you know, in Nick Mason's case, perfect beats. The man was grooving hard, right? But keeping a very simple notes, very simple beats, and a hard groove. It just made it happen, right? You know?
I still love every drummer I ever played with.
Yeah?
I still love them. You know, I was never a drummer myself, and but every drummer I ever played with, I still love them. I love them. I don't know why, man.
Oh, drummers are lovable, man. Fuck, they're the ones that are getting laid the most. They're getting all the pussy, for fuck's sakes. You know that, right? It's the lead guitarist and the fucking drummer that's getting it, right? You know? And all the artsy-fartsy chicks going to hang out with the bass player. Because of the maternal quality of the low frequency.
The low frequency,
It's very maternal, for fuck's sake.
No, I'm serious. I've always been in love with the drummers I played with. I don't know why, man. Like,
well, look at the relationship in Anvil between Lips and the drummer there. You know, you know, even between Zeppelin. Look at the relationship between Bonham and Page.
Anvil is wicked, by the way. Anvil.
Hey, Anvil, great. You know, those were the guys of modern. You know, the fathers of thrash metal.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah,
you know,
man.
thrash metal. and Metallica and Dave Mustaine, Megadeth, the ode to the guys from Anvil, for fuck's sakes.
Yes.
They got the whole ball rolling in thrash metal.
Yeah.
Right?
What about Saga? Have you heard Saga?
Oh, Saga, yes. Saga is a very interesting band, man. Okay? Now, there's a band from Burlington or Oakville, Ontario.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. Ontario band, yeah.
And, I mean, I was, I listened to them when they came out with their third album, Silent Night.
They're still touring, man.
They're still, yeah, I know. They're still touring. But here's what's interesting about Saga. I mean, huge keyboard band. Okay, they're huge on keyboard, and that can piss off a lot of people, right? Keyboards, for some reason. I always dug the keyboard sound. Okay, but you've got a great guitarist. I think it's Ian Crichton, a Canadian. These are guys from I think it's Ian Crichton. I mean, he's a great guitarist, man. The guy is, he's on the mark, man.
I'm friends with their new drummer, man, on Facebook.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
Yes, I think the new drummer. Negus. Yeah, Steve Negus was the original drummer.
Yeah.
But, actually, it's funny. I was listening to Saga last week, man, or 2 weeks ago, and just putting it together. The vocalist is just amazing. The guy should be in a fucking Broadway play, man. He's got that whole operatic voice.
He's awesome.
Amazing voice. And, and the lyrics and musically, these guys are tight.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But here's what's interesting about Saga. You know where they got popularity? And I mean really, really popular, because they weren't breaking here in North America, except in all niches, was Germany.
Yeah, Europe, man. They're big Saga, in Europe, man. They're big.
They're huge in Europe, but more so in Germany. And I can understand because of the keyboard sound. The German, I think the Germans really dig that heavy synthesized keyboard. But it's and then there's a lot of and there's a lot of classical in what Saga is doing.
Yeah.
But it's the combination of many things. Yeah, I mean Saga. The vocalist, just amazing. What's his name? Sadler, Michael Sadler, I think it is. Right?
Okay.
He's amazing. I mean, that guy should be doing the Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He's got that stage presence, right? And his vocals, he's a Welsh-born singer there, man, and the Welsh are known for being choir boys, right?
Yeah.
But amazing band, and so underrated here in North America.
Yeah, very underrated here. Very underrated.
Yeah.
Fuck, I love, but I really didn't even know about Saga until recently, until a couple years ago, and I made friends with a guy on Facebook. He was a drummer, and he ended up becoming their drummer, the new Saga drummer for their tour that they were doing.
Right on.
And so then he's like posting all this Saga shit, and I'm listening to it, and I'm like, wow, what the fuck? Like, how did I miss this?
Great Canadian talent right there and then, man.
Yeah, man.
Really good Canadian talent, man.
Well, is Anvil Canadian as well?
Absolutely, from here in Toronto.
Yeah, man. What the fuck?
Yeah, they had a movie out, actually, Anvil. They did a documentary a couple of years ago.
Yeah, okay? I saw it. It was
yeah,
great. Yeah.
And I saw it too. It was hilarious, man. But there's an example of a rock band, how they had to struggle.
Yeah.
Right? It's probably one of the best documentaries of rock history, really.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I forgot the name of it. Anvil. It's a documentary about Anvil, and if anybody's listening, would highly recommend that.
Yeah, check it out, because I've seen it too. I don't remember the name either, but check it out.
Yeah.
Just
a couple movies. Yeah, maybe that's something that we can mention for the listeners is certain movies, documentaries, rock documentaries to check out.
Yeah.
We discussed Rush, done by Sam Dunn and McFadden, Chris McFadden, I think it is. The metal series.
Yes.
He has. And he did the one on Rush, which I would highly recommend.
What was that series called?
Beyond the Latest Stage, Metal Evolutions.
Yes.
Okay, I think this. What Sam Dunn is has been doing with that is an absolute masterpiece.
God, I'm gonna have to put a lot of links in the.
Yeah, I would highly recommend that. For Rush, it's like I said, Beyond the Lighted Stage. Mm-hmm. He did a recent one too that showed up on Rogers cable on Alice Cooper. Okay,
nice, man.
Yeah. I think what's going to help revive it back, or hopefully spark some young artists out there is really get into these documentaries where these guys, how they came about, how glam rock came about. right? How shock rock came about, and I think Sam Dunn, because he's an anthropologist, okay, by study, I guess, right? He got his PhD in anthropology, and he specializes in metal, right? The evolution of metal and the whole
well, there you go. Any feminists listening to this right now, you probably have a better chance of making a career out of studying the history of metal than the history of feminism, you cunts. Anyway, let's continue.
Well, it's still very much a male-dominated. But hey, I'll give credit where it's due. There have been some ladies who've broken some ground in metal, but yeah, predominantly it will always be a male space.
Yeah, it's pretty best. But rock and roll, women in rock and roll. What about what's his name from the Beach Boys, Brian?
Oh shit.
His daughters.
Brian Wilson.
Brian
Sorry.
Wilson's daughters.
Man, we're forgetting these names. I mean, they used to shoot them before. Yeah, it's Brian Wilson.
I know, we're getting old, man.
We're getting old, yeah.
Brian Wilson's daughters. They were pretty big.
Yeah, Wilson Phillips. That's right. Yeah.
Heart.
They had
Heart.
Well, Heart's a good band. Now
that's Brian Wilson's daughter, man, right there.
Oh, Nancy Wilson?
Yeah, man. Brian Wilson's daughter's Heart. Come on, Heart.
Oh, you're kidding? No, I know Heart, but I didn't. I mean,
that was the Wilson daughters, right there.
No,
Barracuda.
Barracuda? No, that's Nancy Phillips. Hold on, Nancy Williams. Nancy Wilson.
Wilson.
Anyways, I have to wrap my head around that one. I am sorry,
Come on,
man.
Heart, man, Heart.
Yeah. No, I know Heart. Jeez, of course. Barracuda and Heart, Dog and Butterfly. Great acoustic album that they put out back in '78, I think it was.
The Wilson sisters, Heart.
The Wilson sisters. Yeah.
And they were rock and roll women, man. Because their dad was. Because their dad was king of rock and roll.
Brian Wilson, Beach Boys.
And that guy was apparently a lunatic.
Oh, he's a big cokehead, man. He's a coke freak, amongst other things. Right?
Yeah. But that's an ode to women in rock and roll right there.
Uh-huh.
The Wilson sisters, man.
Yeah, the Wilson sisters definitely. They definitely carved out, and there were a couple of. There were some few, very few though.
Very few.
Very few.
I can't even know if I can name another. I'm trying to think. Is there?
Well, there's a good guitarist. There's a really good guitarist, Lita Ford, right?
Okay.
Yeah, she played in an all-female metal band in the '80s, and she made a name for herself. I mean, you can find her in guitar magazines. Lita Ford.
Lita Ford.
She shreds. No, she can. She can shred. She can.
Was she a daughter of a father who played?
No, I don't think so. I think she's just, she just a self-made woman.
Interesting.
In metal.
Well, that's fucking rare.
Yeah, and of course there was Girl School. That played with Lemmy and Motorhead. They had a joint album together back in the late '70s there, when Motorhead was out. That's a band called Girl School, and they're still touring apparently. Yeah. Right.
Well, how about Four Non-Blondes?
Four Non-Blondes?
You ever heard of them?
I never heard of them. No, I haven't heard of them.
Really?
Right.
Come on, man. Four Non-Blondes. That's let me look it up. Four Non-Blondes.
Four Non-Blondes.
Yeah, Four Non-Blondes. They did that song "What's Up." What's up? The revolution.
What year is this? The 80s?
Yeah, late 80s.
Late 80s?
American rock band from San Francisco, California, formed in 1989, so they were into the 90s. But a female lead singer and guitar player. Really? You've never heard of them?
No, actually, I haven't.
They did a Zeppelin cover, man.
Did they?
Yeah. Hold on. Let me see if I can find what Zeppelin cover they did. What the fuck was it called again? Hold on, I got it. Misty Mountain Hop. They did Misty Mountain Hop.
Oh, Misty Mountain Hop, really?
Yeah, with a female vocalist, because Paige was like pretty alto, right?
Yeah, he was.
So get a female to sing it. Woo! Fucking rocked it hard.
No, there's some females. Well, look at what Hart did with some of the Zeppelin songs that they put out, right? You know, she could replicate pretty much.
Wait a second. Hart did Zeppelin songs?
Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah.
No
they
way.
did the Battle of Evermore. Check out the Battle of Evermore by Hart. Okay.
Okay, I'm putting the link to the Four Non Blondes Zeppelin song in our chat. Not the chat window on the side of the talk, but the regular chat. Okay, so wait a second. Hart did what?
Oh, Hart did the Battle of Evermore by Zeppelin. Check it out.
Was that for that Zeppelin tribute album?
They did a Zeppelin tribute album.
Yeah,
indeed.
see, Four Nons Blondes. That was Misty Mountain Hop. They did a tribute album. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but Hart did also a tribute. I think they did a tribute album. They played a couple of Zeppelin tracks, and I know the Battle of Evermore. They did a beautiful rendition of that with the mandolin part. Yeah,
well, listen to that. Listen to that Four Non Blondes Misty Mountain Hop. Just a little bit of it.
Okay. Want to put it on now?
Yeah, put it on, buddy.
Did you send me the? Yeah, sorry, you sent me the link there.
Yeah, it's in the chat. Not the chat on the window, but the chat in the regular Google Plus chat.
Regular Google Plus. Let me just. There it is.
Yeah.
Four Non Blondes.
Listen to that. That's a chick singing.
Ha!
Is that Jimmy Page or is that her singing?
Hang on.
Yes, I'm a superstar, yeah. Don't you know I am? I really don't know what time it is. Oh, yes, if I can stay a while. Yeah, yeah.
Well done, man.
I told you.
Yeah. Let me just cut out here. Well done. She really did Paige apply some justice there.
Yeah.
Well done. She's got the grit going. Perfect.
Yeah.
Beautifully done, Ayam. Thank you for steering me this.
Yeah, man.
Thank you, man.
Well, there you go.
There were a couple other chick bands now that we're on topic of this. Zepparella that did they've got a couple of videos on Zepparella. Yeah, check them out.
Okay.
And Les Zeppelin. And now they're a band of lesbians.
Oh,
they call themselves Les Zeppelin, right?
Fuck.
But Zepparella does a far better job, and they get different vocalists to try out the different parts, right?
Okay.
And, different tunes that Zeppelin on their Zeppelin repertoire, and great job. These ladies rock on. They nailed it, man.
Yeah.
Right.
I think this is a great way to kind of wind down our talk. Is like,
sure,
we are a couple of MGTOW men and talking about music. Oh, but guess what? We're now talking about women in music. Even though they're the fucking minority of it all, they're still there.
Well, but they're still there. But the way I see it, it's, you're a musician first and foremost. If we're talking music here, there's a certain part of me that says, I don't care if you're a woman or not. You're a musician. Show me what you can do. It's about merit.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. And can she hang with the boys? If you're a metal chick, for example, and you can fucking shred, okay, can you hang with the boys?
Yeah.
And can you fucking put out, okay?
Well,
and there are some chicks that can put out, and that's what it's about. Is can you do the music justice? Yeah. And I think that's genderless.
Yeah, of course it is. And all men know that. They've always known that.
Exactly.
But okay, I want to end with a little story of my own personal life and experience of being a musician. I don't know if I've told you this story before. Maybe I have, but I'm going to repeat it again here. And it goes like this. About, I would say 5, 6 years ago, I found myself back in Canada. And I was there for about 6 months. And within that 6 months, I fell back into my groove of playing with my friends, doing music. And a friend of mine had asked me to do a gig in Calgary. And it was for a music festival. I can't remember the name of the festival now. But it was an annual festival. I think the name of the festival was after a flower. I can't remember it now. Anyway, so he asked me, he's like, hey man, can you play a gig with me at this festival in Calgary? And I said, yeah, absolutely, I'll do it, man. So we rehearsed, we had a couple gigs, and it turned out that there's this girl who was a singer, songwriter, and was very, I'm not going to say she wasn't ugly, she was pretty attractive. And she was pretty talented too. I mean, she had a good voice. She could strum a guitar pretty good. And I had to go up there with her. I didn't play with her. I wasn't in her band, but we shared the same ride. And I was just there to like play with this other band, and she happened to be in the same van as us as we went up to Calgary. She had her gigs. She had a gig at the festival, and then she had another gig later that night at a bar. So I was just there playing with this other band, and I remember everything was prepped, and I was designated as the guy that would go to her house, pick her up, and take her to the location where we all met to get in the van and all drive up to Calgary, right? That was my job. It's like, hey, you got to pick her up and bring her here, blah, blah, blah. So I get up early in the morning. I drive over to her house, and on the way, I picked up, like, I thought, hey, I'll do a nice thing. I'll pick up some Tim Hortons coffee and donuts or whatever, breakfast for her. So I pick it up. I pick up the snacks, and I go to her house, and she's like, "Okay, you need to carry all my shit upstairs." She was living in a basement suite. Can you carry all my stuff up there, so we can load it up in your car and then go to the location? And yeah, okay. So I carry her amplifier, her guitars, and all that shit. I give her donuts. And she gets in the car, and we drive to the location. And we all hop in the van, drive off to Calgary, 2-hour drive from Lethbridge, southern Alberta there. And we get to the gig, and I swear to God, man, this bitch was unfucking believable.
Really?
I remember I did the gig. I did my gig first. We played our show. And then it was a few hours. I mean, we played what we'd rehearsed, and then people would come up, and there was jamming going on, and it was great. It was great. People were dancing. It was fantastic. And and then she had her gig somewhere else for the festival, and then she came back and met us where we were, and started going like just bitching at everybody.
Oh,
who's gonna take me to my gig? Who's going to take me? Are any of you guys going to take me to my gig? And then she comes out and she goes, "Where's my red bag? I had a red bag with the stuff I need for my show, and why wasn't it picked up?" And I was the dude that picked her up from her house, right? So I was the one that was like, loading her stuff into my car first. But there was no red fucking bag, apparently. And she starts blaming me, like, "Why didn't you get my red bag?" And I'm, what the fuck? So every guy there was like trying to appease to her, like, oh yeah, you know, oh really, oh your bag is gone, oh my god, well, how can we help you? How can we? And I'm just fucking shaking my head. I'm enraged, you know, like going, you fucking cunt. And then finally, I was basically saying, well, fuck, too bad for you. You can't get your gig on the other side of town. Who's going to take you? You never asked anybody to do that beforehand. So go fuck yourself, right? But then the guy that hired me to play in his band said, oh, okay, I'll take you, and he takes her across town to play in a bar somewhere, right? But we had to also pick her up at the end of the night to take her back home, right? And so we get to the whole day was fantastic. It was beautiful. Playing music at a festival. It was drinking like this homemade honey wine. It was fabulous.
Nice.
And then the sun's gone down. It's late in the night. It's early in the morning, and we got to go pick up this chick from the bar, right? From her gig at the bar. And we pull up, and the guy that owned the van that was driving us there, he goes, hey, why don't you go in and get her? And I'm like, what? Me? I gotta go in and get that fucking chick? So I agreed, and I walk in there, and I walk into the bar. It's kind of closing down, like the show is over, and I make my way through the crowd, and I go up to some employee there and said, look, I'm here to pick up so and so for her gig. And oh yeah, she's over there. I meet her, and I say, yeah, we're here. And that fucking bitch, right? I walk in there to pick her up, and she goes, what the fuck? This gig was shitty, man. You guys, I got here late, and it was all shit, and blah 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 blah. And I
fucking right down on you guys, man. Holy shit.
And I got to carry your shit back out. You know what I said to her? I said, I'm not fucking carrying any of your fucking shit. Go fuck yourself. You know, go fuck yourself. Carry your own amp and guitar.
Yeah, really.
So, you know, in the end, we all piled back in the van and went back home. And the whole time was just this fucking horrible experience because some overprivileged cunt thought she could boss us all around.
And expects you to be her fucking roadies.
Yes.
On this.
Yeah, man.
What is this, fucking roadies on demand?
Yeah, man, exactly. I'm like, I'm my own roadie. I carry my own shit. What the fuck?
Exactly.
Unbelievable.
Like every other musician under the sun. Yeah, who's carrying gigs. That's part of the culture right there. You carry your own fucking. Unless you've got a couple of guys that you fucking pieced off to help you out, right? Mm-hmm. And those guys are properly looked after from the gigs that I've been involved in the past.
Of
right?
course they are, man.
You know, it's tight. It's a solid production. It's a great little team. You know, and something like that comes into the fold. Fuck that.
No, it was like unbelievable. And honestly, it was a red pill moment for me. And a moment of where I watched the guys that I was playing with trying to pander to her and like apologize.
Yeah, simping away.
And I'm like, what the fuck is going on here, man? I bought you fucking coffee and fucking donuts, for God's sake. I picked you up. I carried your fucking luggage, and you're gonna treat me like this? Fuck you. Fuck you. That's why I don't like playing with women. I don't like it.
Well, unless she can pull her own fucking weight and hang with the boys, man. That's what I was saying earlier, right? Yeah. You know, she can carry her own fucking axe, okay? She can carry her own fucking Marshall, right?
Yep.
You know, I don't care if she comes up with a fucking stroller, but she's got to be able to hang with the boys. It's not about hanging with the boys. It's about doing the fucking music justice, okay?
No.
I'm talking like a metalhead here, pardon me, but, you know, that's the way I see it, you know? And I think there have been maybe very few and far between that hold their cool, that can actually hang with the boys.
I've never personally met a woman that can. Personally.
Hey?
I've never met a woman musician personally that can carry her own weight. But that's just me. That's just my experience. I'm sure they are there. I'm sure they exist. But I personally have never met one.
Mm-hmm. But it goes to show the kind of expectations that we place now, right? I mean, at least for something like that, are you doing the music justice? I don't care about your gender, but, you know, you're going to hang with the guys, you know, that's what that's what's going to happen. You're going to be around a bunch of guys who are ready to fucking put themselves out. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, there's no room for kind of bullshit like that for, oh, fuck my nail in my hair dryer and all that shit. Fuck that.
Yeah.
You know?
It's absolute bullshit, man.
But yeah, it's unfortunate, that, people are going to throw a fucking monkey wrench like that into a gig.
People. No, I'm talking about a woman.
Women, yeah.
Nah, let's not make a mistake here. This is a woman.
Thank you. I stand corrected.
Fucking woman, man. Because I've never, in my fucking years of playing and traveling and touring and being with other musicians, have I ever had to suffer that kind of shit from another guy.
You don't need that shit, man.
Never.
No, there's a different, especially on the road. I mean, us guys, some of the stories that I've heard from my friends out on the road, But you're right. There is a tight, there's a tight kinship going on there, right? And you have to as musicians, right?
Yeah.
If you come together, right? Because it's about making that magic happen, man. When the crowd's just going fucking nuts, you've made it happen, right?
And the problem here in this case is that we had a woman. She was an attractive woman. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
She had a good voice. Don't get me wrong. And she could strum her guitar. But she was just a fucking cunt. A just overprivileged fucking cunt. You know? And this... Okay, let's go back to the original concept of this talk. Yeah. What has happened to the music? How does this tie in with MGTOW and who we are? And what my channel is about and what your channel is about?
Right.
Well, if we consider the issues of men and MGTOW, we do have to consider where women come into play in regards to, let's say, our professions or our everyday lives, our marriages, our relationships. Music. Where do women come into play in music? And as a musician myself, I have never seen a woman embrace that lifestyle in a way that made her something valuable.
I don't think they're geared for that kind of a lifestyle in many respects. Very few have pulled through, right, in their own way. But no, I mean, touring is, I've never toured per se, right? But, I've spoken to guys who've been on tours and all that. And, with that kind of gynocentric bullshit going on, it throws a monkey wrench into the operation, man.
Yeah.
Right?
How can you possibly have a peaceful tour with that shit happening?
Because she's going to divert all the attention onto herself, okay? And of course, you got a crew going on there that they're going to be staring to her, like you just described, right? And that's what happens. I mean, and I think she knows what she's doing, okay? She knows exactly which buttons to push, right? Yeah. To make things happen, okay? The thing is, it takes away from the gig, man. Because the gig is not just what's happening on stage; it's the tour. Yeah. It's everything that goes on, right?
Yeah. It's the whole relationship between everybody involved.
That's right. You hear about guys going on tour for a whole year, right? Well, that's exactly what they're going on. But people focus on just the stage life, right? What goes on stage. They never consider what goes behind stage, right?
Well, and this is another thing, man, I want to point out when it comes to music. And if we're, here we are in our MGTOW hangout about music, is that often with women, a lot of the show is her.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Look at me, I'm attractive and I can sing. And I got to sell tits.
Exactly. TNA, sold right there on the spot.
Go fuck yourself is what I say to those fucking chicks.
But then again, hey, this comes back to what we were talking about earlier too. That's what sells, right? That's what's selling is to what extent. And I think Madonna was the prime example of how she kickstarted that for female artists, right? If you really study, the Christina Aguilera's, the Lady Gagas and all that, Madonna.
It's a show. It's not about the music anymore, man.
That's right. And Madonna actually did put out some quality music. Okay, back in her day, she did.
I won't argue with that.
I'm not going to argue with that. And her stage presence, she did a great job. Okay. So for artistic value, yeah, I do give that. But she started that trend.
Yeah.
The fucking bitch, cunt, okay, out on stage, and, the likes of Lady Gaga now is doing a gig with Tony Bennett. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'd like to separate the Gaga-ness from her Gaga and actually listen to her fucking voice. Okay. If she's going to be performing with Tony Bennett. Okay. Do you know what I'm saying?
I know.
But that's just it. And again, it's that aspect of marketing. And I think a lot of female artists latch onto that. Okay. And manipulate their way through. Right.
Yeah.
And I think Madonna played a huge role with that. Right. And I'm sure Madonna had predecessors before that. Tina Turner. Okay.
Yeah.
Was also in that same. I mean, Tina Turner made a return in 1983. After
Road Warrior.
Yeah, Road Warrior.
Part 3.
Road Warrior, or Mad Max.
Beyond Thunderdome, man. Yeah.
That's it. So there's an example of that. But again, that's what the media is portraying, right? Let's get down to the artistry, and that's where I'd like to take those artists, those female artists, and put them in a fucking raw scenario, okay? And record them there if it needs to be recorded, and show me who the fuck you are.
Well,
right?
you see, as a normal person, you'll see female artists come out, like the ones you've mentioned. But
yeah.
I guarantee you, they didn't fucking hit the road and put in. They all come from rich parents. I mean, come on, Hart's kids, Wilson's kids, daughters. Tina Turner was made because of her abusive husband.
Yeah.
They didn't fucking hit the road and put in the work to be what they are, No,
most of the time the platform was already set for them. Yeah. Okay, all they had to do was show up on stage and have their crew of fucking makeup artists, goop up all their shit on their faces and show up. That's it, right? Absolutely. I mean, the guys that are setting up the stage, setting up the speakers, setting up the sound, the lighting, and everything. Okay, those guys actually play an intrinsic part with the musicians, man.
Yeah,
intrinsic. Every concert that I've known. I mean, it's when they're doing those long tours, I'm sure there were other professional outfits where everybody did their job, and at the end of the day, they go back to their hotel room and slam click. But we all know too well in the music circles how those parties went, right? Yeah. The after concert parties. Again, that's part of the culture. And it has been written as such, right?
Well, I remember fucking doing a gig at Banff.
Banff?
Yeah, in a ski lodge.
Yeah.
Went up to do a gig with the band. We did a gig in the afternoon, and then later at night we did another gig in the bar.
Okay.
And I remember I didn't sleep. I stayed up all night, sitting in my van with a bunch of the people I played with, snorting cocaine.
Yeah. Snorting whiskey, drinking cocaine. Yeah. Great.
Didn't even fucking sleep, man. Just like, well, look, the sun's coming up. I think we better go put our gear back in the van. And there was no fucking woman in that band.
No. Imagine how much of a slowdown it would have been. I can imagine some of the older rockers, right, who bring their wives on tours and their kids, like Ozzy and all that. How much of a lag that would put on their fucking gig, man.
No shit, man.
I mean, and that's just it. A lot of these guys bring brought their wives and their girlfriends on, right? They had their own. What was that movie, Rockstar? Right?
Yeah.
That was with Marky Wahlberg about that band Steel Dragon or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, they depicted, the rock and roll lifestyle, where the wives had their separate transportation and all that shit, and, borderline lesbianism going on there. Because, obviously, they're getting all the pussy that they want,
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I guess... And that's another thing. I mean, if we can really make this MGTOW content at the same time, is that when we're talking about music, where has it come? What has happened to it? As a musician myself, I often found that I didn't need to pick up women as a musician. You don't have to.
You don't have to, man. They come to you.
No, they come to you. You just don't
That's right.
have to. I mean, and so that's why, like, the whole PUA shit and the attention to women shit, I just don't get it, because thankfully I've had the experience of where I never had to. So it was just, you play music and women just fucking come to you.
That's right. You know? Yeah.
They just fucking show up out of nowhere. You're like, well, oh.
That's it. It's that whole persona, that whole emanation that goes on when you're on stage. You know, women are attracted to that shit, you know, hence the groupie.
Yeah.
You know, that was the culture too as well.
Yeah.
You know, what's her name? Helen Barr, I think it is. She's a famous groupie that hung out with Zeppelin and all that. She's got an interesting story to tell in Metal Headbanger's Journey by Sam Dunn, that documentary. You know, he also goes into that. So it's also worth exploring. But yeah, no, women have that. That's what women are into. You know, the singers get all the pussy, man. You know, and so do the drummers, right? Yeah. And so do the guitarists. You know, the bass players, they get all the artsy fartsy types.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the meme. I don't know. I mean, as far as being in bands, like, it didn't matter as long as you were there, putting on a show. The chicks came.
Yeah.
You didn't have to look for them.
Yeah, and the funny part, even at the bar level too, as well.
Yeah.
If you're a musician, you're doing a low end fucking gig at a bar, the pussy shows up, man.
Absolutely.
It's there, right?
You play a shitty little gig in some backwater town of Canada.
Yeah.
And you don't have to go and start looking for pussy. It just piles up.
It just shows up. You know, I mean, those girls are bored being in those small towns with the kind of men that are out there. They want something new.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. That's why,
you know,
and that's why I'm always, I have like this sort of distaste for the PUA kind of thing, like putting so much energy to get a pussy. It's just like, nah, fuck that. Just do something that women like.
Yeah.
If you want.
Or, you know, if you get into their heads sometimes, the most interesting person, if you're, let's say, at a pub or a bar, the most interesting guy, okay, will be the guy wearing a fucking suit, sits down, pulls out a newspaper, and orders a cup of coffee. Yeah. Chicks will be influenced by that shit. Yeah. It's their psyche, man. I mean, fuck, you know? Yeah. Try to figure that one out.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, man, let's put this to a close. We're probably running up 2 hours now. Don't want to go too much farther because people won't watch it if it's too long.
Yeah.
But I think it's a good way to close it, just to kind of touch back on the whole MGTOW concept of what we are talking about. And originally it was about music and what has happened to it. And there's a whole life behind that, and I hope that we've expressed that in everything that we've said.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, if there's anybody listening, any MGTOW who is a musician out there and can draw from what we've talked about here and hopefully tap into something and recreate, you know, because that ties in very much with the MGTOW philosophy of self-development.
Yes.
You know, if music is a vein, okay, it's a huge universe. It's a huge, huge field. Yeah. And all I'm saying is, as a musician and as a MGTOW, all the power to you. Yeah. You know, put your content out. Put your content out in music too as well. Yeah. And there's a couple of guys out there, you know, that have something going. What's his name? Studio 30, Universal Studios. I mean, he's rapping away.
Oh yeah,
right?
That's right.
You know,
yeah, absolutely.
He's putting out some content in rapping, and I hope he builds up a nice repertoire, man. Yeah. Really looking forward to his content
absolutely.
there.
Absolutely.
So please, if you're a MGTOW and if you're a musician, run with this. Okay, you know, capture the spirit of exploration is what I say to any musician out there.
Absolutely.
Recapture that. Okay, get as many live gigs, build a repertoire, build a relationship with your listeners. Okay, because that's really what it's about.
Yeah.
Okay.
And to sum it all up, music, what it represents, and what a man can produce using music as a tool. It is very representative of MGTOW. It is going your own way.
It's very much so. Music is meditative, okay? There's so much value, okay? It's been proven scientifically that it improves brain activity, okay?
Yeah.
And in any kind of music. Actually did some studies with heavy metal, and it drove babies crazy, but that's good.
Yeah. Well, and on that same vein, if you're a man out there that is having a hard time in MGTOW, and maybe you've gone through a divorce or whatever, consider music as a hobby, you know, that you can pick up. You can pick it up.
I think there was a MGTOW that picked up the guitar, you know, after so many years after his divorce and all that, and it was through MGTOW that he picked up, and he's putting in practice every day.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
It's an excellent therapy, you know, taking up an instrument. I might even consider that. I'd like to get myself a set of keyboards, you know, and just you know, do some orchestral arrangements. You know, that's more my vein, and I'm also on the visual plane these days too, as well. Yeah. You know, I mean, I've got contacts in the industry. You know, if I wanted to tour with somebody, you know, work in the back end or management, I could probably pull it off. But no, I've got different priorities now. Yeah. You know, I think educating young musicians, you know, and saying the right words in the right time in the right place, you know, hopefully sparking them to do something is what it's all about now.
Yeah, and just pick up an instrument and learn to play it.
Absolutely.
And create your own story, right?
Absolutely.
Your audience will be the audience, but it's not the point. The point is not the audience. The point is that you are making and creating music, and you're adding to what we said in the beginning. What did you say? What was it again?
What, the spirit of exploration?
Yes, there it is.
The spirit of exploration.
Yes.
You know, and we discussed and we pointed out that Kind of Blue, that jazz album by Miles Davis, is the cornerstone for it. You know, just looking at the spirit of exploration in music in its rawest form, even though it's expressed in jazz, okay? But it applies to every genre of music.
That's
and
right.
Please tap into a new genre of music as a musician and as a MGTOW. By all means, guys like us, Ayam and myself, will definitely back you up.
Oh,
we'll
yeah.
be definitely, you know.
All right,
Yeah.
so thanks for the chat, man. It was really good.
Hey.
I think it was a good topic. I really wanted to get that off my chest because
Absolutely. Like I said, if there's any further discussion of music, man, that we could have like this, and hopefully get some other musicians inspired in the MGTOW community, by all means, I'm all there.
All right, sounds good, man. We'll do it.
Just walk away. Just walk away, and there will be an end to the horror.
The path you tread is narrow, and the drop is sheer and very high. The ravens all are watching from a vantage point nearby. Apprehension creeping like a tube train up your spine. Will the tightrope reach the end? Will a final couplet rhyme? And it's high time, symbolize. It's high time, symbolize. Please wake me. A butterfly with broken wings is falling by your side. The ravens all are closing in, there's nowhere you can hide.